Matt Quattraro is pointed to the bullpen, and only one guy who's come out is allowed to run. That's pretty good.
Well, that's nice news to get you into the playoffs, but you just hope that that little hot streak it can continue a little bit longer, because evidence is that's more of an aberration than
I totally agree with you, but the guys that we're talking about are guys that when Angel Zerpa's throwing 100 from the left side, you're like, I mean, there is ingredients, ingredients to believe that this could stick.
I'd rather be going into the postseason with a bullpen that's to some degree defying conventional wisdom and throwing up zeros, and one that's just getting shelled every night like they were various points.
Listen, at the risk of pulling a muscle, patting myself on the back here, but Urseg in the ninth, like we've kind of stopped screwing around with he goes in the sixth, he goes in the seventh, he goes in the eighth.
I understand the whole leverage thing.
Yeah, I understand the leverage thing, but I think the leverage thing is a great idea if you can take care of the ninth. Right? Everyone talks about Andrew Miller. Well, the Guardians also had a closer then.
Right?
Like
yes.
They had a guy who they would go to in the ninth. Yes, Andrew Miller was the fireman, but it wasn't Slappy Magoo that came out in the ninth. And I think by assigning roles, I don't think Ned Yost was a total, doofus and just back-assed into something. I think the fact that guys knew when they were going to pitch, could prepare. I think there's something to the bullpens being better because of, yes, they all throw harder. Yes, they all go to drive line and they all get more spin and all the advanced things help. But also what helps is when you get to prep and know when you're going to go. And I think they've done that and been able to be successful by kind of guys settling into a role. Bubic is the eighth. The ninth is Urseg. Everybody else knows that they got to be ready a little bit before that. I don't think that's we haven't talked about it much, but that is what we've discussed it a lot, and now that's kind of what he's doing, and it's working.
I think that's the ideal way to do it. I agree with you. Usually, if you've got a leverage type of pitcher, it's nice to have that person who is actually the closer, or at least you have somebody else who can close games if you want to do it. I don't think you don't have that reliability. If you throw Urseg earlier, Andrew Miller isn't still left.
Yeah, or Cody Allen in that case.
Yeah, right. And I think it weighs on the mind. I mean, I think if you ask certain guys, like Schreiber comes in the eighth, it's not all on him, right? And like it's different, right? If Bubic comes in the eighth, it's not all on it. Like Bubic has been great. When has he struggled? When he was asked to finish the game and go a second inning. That's when when he has to go out there with a guy already on second base. Like that is different. The extra innings, like you need that guy at the back who is got a little bit of that sheriff mentality. He's ready to stand out in the middle of the street and gun it down. There's lots of people that I think can stand on the rooftop and fire from up there, but the guy who's mano a mano at the end of the game, I think is a different element of it. All right, let's take a break. Danny Clinkscale, of course, the host of College Game Day with Stan Weber for now 56 years. He has hosted that right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
It'll be College Game Day with Todd Lebo tomorrow. So.
Okay. Because Danny remains in Milford, Massachusetts. Milford. We'll take a break, come back, we'll get into the college football next. It's Danny Unleashed, brought to you by our friends at Easton Roofing.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
Hey Kansas City, Joe Spiker, Easton Roofing here. It's been a crazy weather year in Kansas City. You hear lots of ads for taking care of your storm damage. But if you didn't have storm damage, we're still here to help. If somebody talked you into filing a claim that was denied by your insurance, we're also here to help. Oftentimes, repairs are still needed. If you'd like a second opinion, give us a call. The consultation is always free and suggestions are built on integrity. Easton Roofing. Integrity matters.
Welcome back here on the program here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We're talking to Danny Clinkscale, of course, brought to you as always by our friends at Easton Roofing, online at eastonroofing.com. Did you know that Easton Roofing offers thermal inspections? They can tell you on the spot whether there is water under your roof. You're not going to wait weeks to get the answer your business needs right now. Easton Roofing works with the most exclusive commercial roofing manufacturers in the country. Elevate, Geico, Carlisle, JM. They only supply the very best roofing companies in Kansas City. They supply Easton Roofing. Easton Roofing Roofing can write warranties on commercial flat roofs up to 30 years. Only a handful of companies across the country can say that. Protect your business by calling Easton Roofing today. They can come out and give you a free estimate. Free inspection. Call 913-257-5426. Even easier. Find them online at eastonroofing.com. Danny, let's start with the Cats. That was ugly in BYU. The Cougs rendered listen, K-State turned it over. I know Cat fans are saying, well, if we don't turn it over, it's a different game. I think it is a different game. You don't lose by 29 points. I don't know that you win, right? Like, that's the part that you need to settle down. This was not a 3-point game. That turnovers just killed you. This isn't the Chiefs, type of loss here. They got shellacked with the turnovers, with the 8 of turnovers. And I think the other thing is, Avery Johnson's not going to throw you back out of a game. They are a play-from-in-front team. He's a dynamic, exciting player, but he is not just going to drop back and spin you to a win.
Well, there's no question that so far he showed himself to be a mediocre passer. Maybe that's a little strong, but an average passer. And his weaponry is still running the football. Now, if they wanted to point out some things to make you a little positive coming out of that game, they really didn't. They didn't even give up 300 yards, although there was a lot of, negative yardage that was lost by BYU because they had short fields all the time.
Right.
But still, their defense didn't get run over. But they scored 9 points. But that's and also they collapsed. They collapsed when adversity hit.
Right, but that's kind of what they kind of are what Dick Vermeil told us. He's like, I used to play that ball control game, that don't turn it over game. When I was in Philadelphia, we do everything. We wanted our defense to win it and take care of the football, and we'd play a perfect game, and I'd look up and we're leading 16-13, and we need a defensive stand with 1:20 to go just to win the game. He said, when I got to St. Louis, I said, I'm not playing that way. Right? We might turn it over a couple times, but I'm going for the win. And I don't think it's a bad strategy now by Chris Kleiman. I think it's in his DNA. It's how he's always played, and he's won a conference championship with it. But I think it also keeps teams in games, and it also eliminates you from coming back. Now, with this team, I don't think Avery Johnson can play it anywhere else. I think this is just who they are and what they need to be. I think it's smart coaching, but that is kind of their Achilles heel. They're not going to shoot it out with anybody.
Not right now, not with this team. And I think they probably were hoping for a step forward from Avery Johnson because they have a good receiving core. And, so I think that I think they're probably a little bit surprised that they're not getting a little bit more out of Avery Johnson. And, maybe that will start to develop. But he looks to me like somebody who's maybe peaked as a player. And I hope he proves me wrong. But, I think he kind of right now you just have to say he is what he is. And you work with that. And that does create some limitations if you are a run-first football team. No question.
Yeah, and a big one against Oklahoma State. They're a heavy favorite, which I think bodes well for them. 5.5 points, not heavy, I guess, but a solid favorite. It's not supposed to come down to a field goal, so we'll see how that one turns around. Where do you sit on the Kansas Jayhawks? They're good enough to have been, if they make all the plays, 4-0 at this point. I kind of like them in this situation this week because I think had they made really 6 plays, 2 plays a game in each of the last 3 games, they may be sitting at 4-0, and this spread is 13 instead of 2.5. KU favored heavy if they're 4-0. Where do you sit on the Jayhawks, and what do you expect from them this week?
Well, I think that this is a team that needs a jolt of confidence because I think that, and it starts with the quarterback. We were just talking about Avery Johnson. Their quarterback play has been bad. He's been worse. He's turned the ball over, repeatedly, regularly, consistently, all those things. And, their defense hasn't played as well as I think they expected them to. And so I think they're a team that has ability, but they're, football seasons are unto themselves. And right now, I think their confidence is shattered. I think their offensive coordinator probably is sitting there going, boy, if we just run the football more, we might have won those games. So now I don't think he knows how to play necessarily. So I think this is mostly a mental thing. And I think Lance Leipold is a good enough coach to maybe start to get that straightened out. But I think this is more an issue where they need results to get confidence. And that needs to come in this game, or this season's going to start to head sideways, because Oklahoma State's going to be an angry football team that feels like, that we had some things in front of us and we played a bad game last week. And I think the home advantage will be negligible in the game. So I think this is a up in the air question mark game. And I agree kind of with the way the betting line sits there, because how do you know what Kansas is going to bring to the table? Is there really evidence that Jalen Daniels is going to stop throwing interceptions and making dumb throws and not recognizing the field? His interceptions have been, just staring down somebody, and then there's a linebacker just sitting there or a safety sitting there between him and the receiver. He doesn't see him, and he throws the ball right to him.
Yeah. Yeah, and you meant TCU.
What did I say? SMU.
You said Oklahoma State. You were stuck on our K-State discussion.
Right, yeah, TCU. Right.
I agree. I think this might be, dare I say, the last stand for them on this year. Do you agree with that, Danny, that if they don't, I think a bowl is still very much in play for them with Arizona State, Houston, the next couple of games, but they need to get right now and get things going. I mean, they have 3 ranked opponents left on their schedule: K-State, Iowa State, and BYU. But the rest of the schedule, Arizona State, Houston, Colorado, Baylor, those are 4 very winnable games. If they are what we, close to what we thought they could be, that's 5 wins right there. Then you just got to find one against the ranked teams. Or actually TCU would be the 6th one to get them bowl eligible. But they can still have a good season, but I don't think they can have a good season if they lose to TCU. Then they are what they look like. They are what their record says they are if they don't get TCU here.
Well, I think the last stand phrase is a good one, because I think if they play a good game against TCU and win, then I think that they will have the injection of confidence. I think they've got good players. I think they've got the kind of team that can run off some wins. But you lose another game, and you're playing games at Arrowhead, and then a couple of those are going to be where the other team's fans are even more a presence, like against Iowa State, then I think you might be in some trouble. But win this game by 10 points, and I think they might be just right back on track. So I think last stand is a good kind of phrase, because I think it could continue to go sideways if they don't play well in this game.
Danny, we will let you get back to the celebrations that are the 10-year reunion that you're back there for in Massachusetts, and we will talk with you again next Friday.
That sounds great. I'll be back in the studio, and I look forward to doing that. It's always fun.
Danny is the best. Danny Klinkstill. Little Danny Unleashed, brought to you by our friends at Easton Roofing. Joe Spiker and his great team. Kansas City's best estimates. They're always free. No payment is collected until you're 100% satisfied. Serving the entire KC metro area, including Lawrence and Topeka. You can call Easton Roofing at 913-257-5426. Find them online at eastonroofing.com. That's eastonroofing.com.
We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Klinkstill Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new. This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like
Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. Joe Spiker and his team are the best in the business for all your roofing needs, handled with honesty and craftsmanship. Visit them at eastonroofing.com.